Welcome to the Explainer. Ever look at a highly customized trading chart and wonder how those perfectly timed indicators actually work under the hood? Well, you're in the right place. Today, we're totally demystifying Chapter 25 of the MQL5 Reference. Think of building a custom indicator exactly like constructing a house. You can't just start throwing up walls, right? You need a solid foundation, a really powerful core, a reliable routing system, and of course, a great coat of paint. To get there, we've got a clear four-step process. First, the blueprint. Next, the engine. Then, the plumbing. And finally, the paint. Let's jump right in. So here's the big question. How exactly do you take a mathematically dense, incredibly complex trading strategy and translate it into a dynamic, visual indicator? Because let's face it, traders don't execute trades based on abstract MQL5 code. They need tangible tools. They need lines, histograms, and colored candles. How do we bridge that gap? How do we turn raw logic into the visuals traders rely on every single day? Section 1. The blueprint. Setting up the architectural foundation. Before your code does any math whatsoever, the MetaTrader 5 terminal needs to know exactly what it's dealing with. Enter the hash property directives. Think of these as your zoning laws and building permits. They sit right at the top of your file, telling the terminal how to service your program, establishing the external settings and window placements way before any actual data processing happens. You use these directives to declare the crucial stuff, how many calculation buffers you're going to need, the number of graphic series, default colors, and whether this whole thing lives in the main chart window or its own sub-window. By getting this right, you literally pre-allocate memory, meaning the terminal reserves the exact amount of space it needs before that very first tick even arrives. Moving on to Section 2, the engine, our core processing unit. Okay, let's dive into this. The true engine of any custom indicator in MQL5 is the OnCalculate event handler. This is the core. It just sits there, waiting for a calculate event, which usually means a new tick just hit the symbol. This is where all your heavy mathematical lifting takes place. Every moving average, oscillator, or custom algorithm you ever design is going to pulse right through this specific function. Now, MQL5 gives you a choice here because OnCalculate actually comes in two distinct forms. And no, you cannot mix them. You have to pick the one that fits your data. On one side, you've got the single data buffer form. Think of a standard moving average using a single simple price array. On the other side, you've got the multi-time series form. This is for the heavy-duty indicators where you absolutely need direct access to arrays for time, open high, low, close, and take volume. And what's super cool about that first form is how it directly wires into the MetaTrader UI. You know that apply to drop-down menu in the platform? Using the single buffer form populates that menu automatically. It empowers the user to instantly switch the base price, like shifting from the close price to the typical price, or even chaining it to a previous indicator's data, all without you touching a single line of underlying code. It's a massive time saver. But wait, there's a vital piece to this engine, optimization, specifically the pre-calculated parameter. Every time OnCalculate runs, this variable remembers what was returned during its last call. So, if you make sure to return rates total at the end of your function, the next time a tick hits, pre-calculated tells you exactly how many bars are already done. You're basically preventing your CPU from recalculating the entire history of the market on every single tick. You only process the new stuff, which is absolutely crucial for preventing platform lag when the markets get crazy volatile. All right, Section 3, the plumbing. Time to route the data. So, we have the math, now we need the plumbing. The master pipe fitter here is a function called SetIndexBuffer. This is the missing link that funnels your raw calculations right into the platform's visual plotting system. You just declare a dynamic array globally, and then, usually inside your initialization function, you use SetIndexBuffer to bind that array to one of those buffers we reserved back in our blueprint phase. But when you bind it, you have to tell MQL5 what kind of pipe it is using, the enum_index_buffer type. You basically have three choices. First, indicator data. This is the classic, information meant to be drawn straight onto the chart. Second, indicator color index. This is a special pipe that feeds color changes to dynamic lines or candlesticks. And third, indicator calculations. These are your hidden auxiliary buffers. They're perfect for storing intermediate math across ticks without actually cluttering up the visual chart. Which brings us to Section 4, the paint, the visual presentation. When it's time to actually style this thing, MQL5 does not hold back. You literally have 18 distinct enum_draw type styles at your disposal. 18! From your basic lines and arrows to intricate colored zigzags and filled channels. The platform gives you an incredible palette to make sure your data looks exactly how you envision it. Keeping track of those styles, though, requires knowing your buffer breakdown. Look at this. Something simple like draw_line, that just needs one data buffer. No color buffers. Draw_filling needs two data buffers to outline the top and bottom. But if you want to get fancy with draw_color_candles, you're going to need a much more complex setup. 4 distinct data buffers for open, high, low, and close, plus one dedicated color buffer just to tell the terminal which paint to use for each individual candle. The best part, that paint doesn't have to be static. MQL5 lets you style dynamically. Imagine wanting your indicator line to glow red the second a moving average crosses a certain threshold. Here's how you do it. First, detect that market condition right inside your OnCalculate engine. Second, call specialized functions like indicator setInteger or plot index setInteger. Third, let those overwrite your static property settings on the fly. You are literally changing the indicator's paint job in real time, tick by tick, based entirely on live price action. It's a real game changer. And that is the anatomy of a custom MQL5 indicator. We laid the blueprint with our properties, built a powerful OnCalculate engine, routed our data with SetIndexBuffer, and splashed on the paint with 18 dynamic styles. Remember, the math you write only ever tells half the story. The true art is in how you visually present it to the trader. So, with this foundation now in your toolkit, how will you draw yours? Thanks for tuning into this explainer, and happy coding.